And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are towards the end of the month of July, closing on August, which means we got NFL mini camps coming up. We got the final stretch in baseball. We got some very high quality fights coming up, and we got basketball season right around the corner. A whole lot to look forward to. It is DJ, joined as always by my co-host Kelsey. And Kelsey, we just kind of laid out. We got a lot to talk about too, but we got a little bit of something fun planned for today, leading into all that.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Power Rangers jersey. That's the most fun thing I got going on today, right? Like, I'm sitting here wearing,
you've had going in the last few months, honestly.
OG Green Ranger, if anybody out there cares, shout out animeape.com. Hooking me up with that. You might surprise some more jerseys. But no, we actually have something a little more exciting than some Power Rangers memorabilia. As excited and nerdy as I can get about that. We have a special guest coming on the show today, Jared from the Korner Booth Pod. Obviously, if you guys have seen us on his show all the time, we were finally able to corral him onto our episode. So we're going to go and welcome him now. Jared, how is it going, my guy? How you doing?
I am good. Because of the hat, I'm not going to rub in Kelsey's face. I'm just a happy baseball fan, man. My team's won 5 out of its last 6 since the break after we were insulted by our all-star selections. Training camp starting today. Apparently, according to everyone, like Jalen Hurts looked good. The defense looked pretty decent too. I'm just happy it's almost football season, guys. We're 44 days away. Or 43?
43 days away. And that's not counting the fact mini camps for preseason.
Training camp.
Just started rolling around. So you got training camp entries coming up. The Browns, they just reported back they report back on the 1st as just one of the ones that people are watching because obvious reasons. But look, guys, it's already here. I feel like we just watched the Super Bowl and it's already time.
Yes.
No, this offseason
I've been on the edge of my seat. I'm down for this one now as well too. I've been marking them off the calendar, like almost there. Come on, I almost wanted to get frozen to see if I can get to this point as well, to just put me in the freezer until it turns August.
Yeah, you just been sending jersey numbers as a countdown every day.
I mean, for me, it's been more like I've been having to after the draft. It's weird. Like the NFL offseason is insane. You get about a 2-week break after the Super Bowl, but then straight off the rip, it's the free agency, then the draft, and then it's this dead zone period from about the end of May until about now, and you're just like scrapping and clawing for any topic to talk about. And yeah, we can talk baseball for hours, but it's like at the same time you're just kind of like, really, this is boring, man.
Hey, now, well, speak for yourself. I can only imagine being a Diamondbacks fan how boring that could be, but
I mean, no, if I talk too much about it, though, my co-hosts or like friends of the show, dude, shut up. Nobody cares besides you.
That's fair.
That's fair. Well, you know what? That's a great lead in, guys. That's going to take us right into our opening segment known as the tip-off. The tip-off brought to you by our good friends over at Dr. Squatch. Smell like a man, feel like a champion. Grab all those wonderful scents for you or that special someone in your life as well, too. No need to be walking around with swamp. You know what? In today's day and age. So, you know what, Kelsey? You kind of alluded to it. Is the start of training camp season across the NFL as well, too. Quite a few storylines, and I'm going to leap right into the last one you mentioned as well, too. The big one where all eyes are kind of focused on the Northeast Ohio and what is going to happen with their new franchise quarterback, number 4, Deshaun Watson. There are rumors. The ruling on if he'll get suspended or not will be coming down maybe in the next 10 days or so, but they've been saying that for the last 2 weeks, it feels like, ever since they had those meetings as well, too. So I'll go and toss to our guest first. What are your thoughts when you look at that as far as the Browns and how are they going to handle the situation? How do you handle mini camps, training camps, not knowing what's going to happen with your star quarterback?
I think the Browns kind of handicapped themselves. I think they kind of kneecapped themselves from the start with this. They basically stared down the barrel of the whole allegation, even when this thing looked worse. Now, I remember it was mid-March, right before my birthday, actually. I think it was the 11th or 12th. They had the indictment. I'm driving up to Massachusetts to see Kevin from Tailgating the Quad and my cousin, who they all live in the same neighborhood. Go up to see them, and I got the update that there were that a jury that, according to some sources, would indict a ham sandwich if they could, did not indict Deshaun Watson. I think ever since then it's been a tailspin of just like everyone going straight after him to try to get him on the roster. But I think the Browns, when they threw him this guaranteed contract and then they threw Baker, the man who got them to the playoffs. Kelsey talked about this on my show at length with me and my co-host Matt. The disrespect they gave Baker is inhuman, 1. 2, it's almost karma what's going to happen to the Browns, because now the Browns are staring on the barrel of Jacoby Brissett and the legend himself, Josh hot tub in the dorm room Rosen as their quarterbacks, and they're staring down anything from a 6 to 12 game suspension right now. And I'm loving this. I'm loving the karma because I'm a Baker guy. I lost a little touch to him after all those progressive commercials were driving me nuts, but now I'm starting to like him again because I feel for the guy. Like he did everything he could for Cleveland, and then they just kick him to the curb like used trash. And now this creepy ass quarterback they bring in is now going to be suspended, and the Browns will probably be out of the playoff picture by the time he plays. So, or at least
no trust in Jacoby. I hear
for the last.
I'll say, I know there's levels to this, but I love me some Jacoby Brissett as well too. I'm not saying he's elite, but I'm thinking he can man the field, man the floor, and beat the Jets and the Panthers in some of those early games.
Yeah, the thing was the Panthers though. If Baker starts for the Panthers, man, I'm just that it's week 1 also. Guys, throw out everything week 1. That's always been the rule for betting. Listen, I lost my survivor pool week 1 when I took the Bills over the Steelers, and then the Steelers everyone thought was going to be good again, and then they were terrible. But they just had to screw me out of my survivor pool.
I could have told you that was a bad pick last year.
$600,000 in the line for the winner, but whatever. But I was
only we had a survivor pool coming up or something. But we'll talk about that next week.
Nice play.
All right, Kelsey, ever the tease that you are. So Kelsey, I want to hear what you have to say about the Browns and Deshaun situation too, because we've had a lot of back and forth on this as well too. We've been talking about this since March. It feels like it's like every other week. What's going to happen? Will he stay? Where he go? What is going on? As we're in training camp now, we're just getting into it. Do you expect a ruling anytime soon? And if so, what are your thoughts on what the Browns do and what the ruling will be?
Again, this goes back to what I said when we had this discussion the first time about like what we think his suspension to be, right? How like I have the part of me that wishes I didn't understand the game of the NFL and how it's actually run like a business, and wants to be like, hey, Deshaun doesn't deserve to step foot on the field. And then I know in the reality, it's an 8-game maximum suspension. Like whenever it comes, it's 8 games max, and that's the unfortunate part of this whole thing. Is so he's going to miss 8 games. And Jared, you're talking like he might not be in the playoff. They might be in the playoff hunt at 8 games. I think the Browns as a team are set up because of their backfield, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. Those two can get you through pretty much anything for 6 of those 8 weeks. Whether they win 6 of those 8 weeks is a different story, but at least 4 of those 6, I believe they can pull it off. That defense is still ungodly. I mean, like I don't want to deal with that defense on a daily basis in the Browns. It's still, as long as they stay healthy, they can compete with the best team in the NFL easily. They can easily run them off the table if they really wanted to. They're overpowering everywhere. I think Myles Garrett, for some reason, somehow got like docked in the offseason for somehow he's no longer one of the best edge rushers anymore. Like, I don't know what happened in the offseason, but the amount of people I've heard saying he's no longer the best edge rusher, I'm just like, wait.
Okay, TJ Watt got a couple of gimme sacks in that season. He's elite, but let's also forget Myles Garrett is like the biggest freak athlete I've seen at the edge rusher position since like Javon Curse, but he stays healthy unlike Curse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like the biggest problem with Myles Garrett at this point in time is like the end of last season, he was being double teamed with a hurt leg, like an entire leg that was gimp, and he was still just like out there balling, getting sacks, and it's just like somehow he became a worse player in the offseason. I don't know how that happened, but for some reason people think that, and look, this Browns team, with or without Deshaun Watson, I think is a very intriguing team. We can't deny what Deshaun Watson can do on the field, though. If he's healthy and he comes back and this team is in sniffing distance of a wild card, I have a hard time thinking that they couldn't pull it out. Like, and obviously I'm reaching a lot here, but because you have too many new pieces offensively. You have Amari Cooper stepping in now where Jarvis once was. Your most experienced receiver at this point in time is Anthony Schwartz or Donovan Peoples-Jones, who can't even stay healthy to save his life. He honestly definitely can't look up for a ball at on the last play of a drive to win a game. That's for sure. Looking at LA, but it's like a David Njoku. Like your tight ends are going to be what save you. Your running back's going to be what save you. Plain and simple. If you're the Browns, and I think honestly, Jacoby Brissett might be a better fit for this offense than a lot of people are giving him credit for, just because he loves to throw to tight ends. He loves checkdowns. And occasionally he likes to unload it with that cannon he has hidden in his arm. So
And he has underrated mobility as well, too. And he doesn't throw picks. He's almost too conservative to a fault sometimes, even as a starter. But when you're the Browns and the way you're constantly moving ahead of the chains, that's kind of what you need, is not those reckless, screw it, he out there somewhere, I'm going to try it. Especially when you're in the early part of your season, it's a little bit easier. But as you mentioned, the worst part for them, too, is you mentioned there's so many good teams in the AFC. If they fall a little behind, unfortunately, you look at the rest of that division. The rest of that division, minus the Steelers, like there's Super Bowl teams. There's 2 Super Bowl teams in your division. There's 4 in the AFC West. Like the AFC is absolutely jacked. So if they fall a little behind, they might not be able to get out of it. Even if Deshaun comes back and plays like prime Deshaun, like he's back at Clemson or something.
Yeah, I do have one theory. I just thought about this. What happens if Brissett's decent? Like he's making a couple great plays. He's winning the locker room over. They bring Watson in, and it's against a primetime team. They get smoked. What does that do to that locker room culture for a guy who's kind of polarizing? That'd be like I could see that totally happening now, because Cleveland is such a fragile locker room. It always has been, even with the talent they've had.
I don't know if it's the locker room. It's the front office. The front office definitely. Yeah.
Well, they're going to shoehorn Watson in there regardless of if Brissett's good or not. Brissett is good. Brissett, if we all forget, Brissett was actually decent in Miami, even though that offense was goddamn terrible. He was not bad in Indianapolis when they had literally nothing out there for him except for an aging T.Y. Hilton. So if we're really looking at this the wrong way, Brissett could be not terrible. Brissett's got his 2 best running backs he's ever had. Yeah. He's got arguably, I think, the best tight end he's ever had in Njoku. I think Njoku's better than Mike Gesicki, but that's a whole nother argument. I also am partial. He's from my mom's high school, and he's from the U, so.
Yeah, that's fair point. He's definitely the most athletic tight he's ever had. That's for sure.
Definitely. And he's probably the most, he's just a freak athlete. But, the other thing about Brissett is you hit on the head. He's not Baker. He's not going to chuck a F it. He's out there somewhere, throw middle of the game, and kill a drive. He's going to say, oh, shucks, nobody's open. Inside 20 yards, he's going to chuck a check down to Kareem Hunt, who might bust through 20 guys and get a first down. So it's kind of like it might be the match made in heaven that we never saw coming.
The mistaken match made in heaven, if you will.
Exactly.
And it's funny you mentioned. I'm actually really glad you actually mentioned this, because this is a big part of Jacoby Brissett's personality. He is a glue locker room guy. Like he has always been that glue locker room guy. Like go back to his days at NC State where he's not even eligible to play, and he traveled to every single away game that season along with their home games to root on his teammates. And then the next season, he was obviously starting quarterback, leading them away, all the intangibles. And that's something that they have talked about his entire career. So you mentioned winning over a locker room. That might be a situation where he does. And so if something does happen with Deshaun where he doesn't come back or comes back and blows it and they have to bench him, let's be honest, it could be a situation like Garoppolo where Garoppolo was traded to the Niners and they just kind of benched him that half of the season just because there was no point in putting him in with 6 games to go when, one, he wasn't meshed with any of the teammates. 2, he was kind of injured, not really injured, but didn't look good. And so it could be a situation like that you leave Jacoby out there, maybe sneak your way into a wild card, lick your wounds, go home for next season. I
think the one thing struggling with the AFC is the fact that the entire AFC West is better than the Browns.
Everybody else basically minus 2 or 3 other teams.
Yeah. We did it when me and Matt were bored when at the end of the show, we kind of just threw out who we think will make the playoffs. And I got to team 11 before I hit the Browns. And I was like, uh-oh. And I was with Watson. I was like, and he's like, what's the problem? They have no outside guys. Jonathan Peoples-Jones is fast as hell, but he can't look up, like Kelsey said. And I love Njoku, but you can bracket him out of a play. If you pack the box, are they really going to try to beat you, throwing over the top to Amari, I Shrink, and Big Moments Cooper? The Browns don't scare. That defense is amazing, but if you're losing by 30, it's not going to matter.
Yes. You slept on Anthony Schwartz out there, but I understand why, because Baker or anybody last year could not get him the ball. So,
dude, I think Anthony Schwartz slept on Anthony Schwartz a little bit.
I think Anthony Schwartz let his hair grow out a little too much.
For a second, who he was. I'm like, Anthony Schwartz. Oh, okay. It's been a minute.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of work there. But I also kind of want to talk about the Panthers as well, too. He's kind of mentioned Baker a little bit going to Carolina, getting that fresh start. Him and Sam Darnold, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting quarterback competition going on in there first day of training camp, obviously don't ever look too much in the training camp, but they both look kind of terrible, basically, is what it sounded like as well, too. Not too good. So going to go and toss it to you, Kels, because these are two of your favorite quarterbacks in Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. So I want to get your thoughts on that quarterback competition now, how you think that plays out.
Team PJ Walker all day long. Please let that man play quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. They might actually stand a chance. Like this. Practice is practice is practice. I will never forget the fact that everybody said Jamar Chase can't catch a ball that doesn't have a stripe on it.
Remember Patrick Mahomes in his first training camp too?
Patrick Mahomes throwing 5 interceptions in his first appearance against the second team defense. I can go down the line. Alex Smith. What's up?
Jordan Love looked elite in his first training camp.
There you go. Deshaun Kaiser looked elite in his first month with the team until literally until the season started, and then it was just like, oh wait, who?
I will raise you the 2015 Philadelphia Eagles, who blew out everyone in preseason.
Countless amount of Cowboys teams who have gotten undefeated in preseason. This is what I take this as. Is like this means absolutely nothing to me. And at the end of the day, I think the thing that worries me more than anything is the fact that we haven't gotten told who the starter is going to be. And I know it's fresh. It's brand new. But we all know who the starter is going to end up being. Are they really going to run Sam Darnold out there for 4 to 5 games and just let him get ghosted? That's really what I'm worried about. Like, can they afford that? Like, can the Panthers afford that with CJ? I keep getting injured by week 6. McCaffrey with Robbie out there just dissing Baker on IG. Now, honestly, after he explained himself on the I Am Athlete podcast, I get what he was saying. Like, he's like, I'm standing up for my dude because he's there. But at the same time, like, you have so many things that need to go right with this team offensively for it to work that you kind of just have to, like, you have to pull the Band-Aid off and just be like, Baker's going to be our guy. Like, I think this is I don't think you can wait very long for this.
Are we also ignoring the fact that Matt Corral could be like this sneaky guy that nobody's talking about? Like, he's my favorite prospect in this quarterback draft besides Carson Strong, who is an undrafted free agent. I like guys with big arms, a lot of confidence, and not a lot of fear, because those are the guys that end up staying around in the league for a while. Yeah. And so, like, with Matt Corral, what I loved is he was a more athletic, better armed Baker Mayfield. And I was like, okay, this could work. I saw Carolina. I'm like, okay, this is great. Then they go and get Baker, and I'm like, why? But then in my head, it's like maybe they run Baker out for a year. They're going to be terrible anyway. Maybe mix Corral at the end of the season. If they're already eliminated for playoff time, Baker goes signs a contract somewhere else, and Corral's a starter next year. That was the logical way to play this. Nothing about Matt Rule and Ben McAdoofus is ever logical. So I don't know what's going to happen. And I love Corral's game. He's just like flick it and throw it into a tight coverage, and he's going to hit his target half the time. That's his MO. And honestly, I like the fact that he has no fear. Honestly, with the team this bad, it might be not a bad thing. So I'm going to put Corral as a dark horse here. I think, unfortunately for PJ Walker, he should have gone right back to the XFL and started there.
I think honestly you're right. Like, it's so important. PJ Walker had such a interesting like moment in the NFL last year, right? And then it's like all of a sudden, all right, well, fourth string, practice squad. You know what? Go find yourself a new team. It's so unfortunate for him.
I love that you mentioned Matt Corral because he's actually both mine and Kelsey's QB1s. We did our draft big boards as well, too. Not a great QB class, but we both thought he's a really good. I like how exactly how you described it. He ran so many RPOs at Ole Miss as well, too. You mix that with CMC and DJ Moore, who we forget is an outstanding receiver when you can get him the ball.
Top 20 right there.
Exactly. You get him, just give him the ball in open space. He has a lot of stuff.
I got yelled at for calling him top 10 by Kevin, so I'm gonna say top 20 because he's in the 15-16 range.
That's fair.
He's
like I still take like an AJ Brown or a DK Metcalf over him, but like it's close.
If I have a good quarterback, there's no chance in hell I'm taking either one of them over DJ Moore. I'm taking DJ Moore.
You don't need a good quarterback to produce with those other two guys.
That's fair. No, that's fair. That actually is a fair thing. Like DJ Moore, he does need a passer. So I think on his day, though, my point being is on his day, he is a top 10 caliber receiver, I should say. Caliber receiver.
Top 10 is going to get recycled this year. We're going to see it's going to be a lot of guys under the age of 26 this year. I think the last old guy in that is going to be Devontae. Everyone else is going to get booted. I think maybe Stephon Diggs will hang around as well, but I think this is the last year you're going to hear anything about that Hop guy or Mr. Slant God Thomas, or any of these Keenan Allen, any of these old guys, they're going to get pushed out because you got Chase Jefferson. You got, I think, Tyreek Hill's. I think this is his last year of being considered elite, like top tier, like A tier guy, because it's like he's going to basically be running for his head cut off because Tua is going to have to throw him a bubble screen every other play. But I digress.
That's very interesting. And the last one I'll go ahead and mention, you mentioned old guy receivers, so we're going to get this last one in there too. Julio Jones going to Tampa Bay now. So what on paper looks like a super team. Smart move by Tampa, but Julio clearly has missed 14 games in 2 years. Those injuries are starting to mount up. When I look at it, where I see this as a beneficiary is in the red zone. You got Mike Evans, he big. You got Chris Godwin, he's pretty big for a slot receiver. Julio Jones, he big. Kyle Rudolph, he big. They're just going to throw 4 fades every single play is what they should do at that point, because you can't guard all of them. But I don't know how much Julio will be able to help between the 20s necessarily, unless you can get Atlanta Falcons Julio that's not broken. But I look at that one, it's a fun signing, but I'm not thinking too much of it as well too. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
This is reverse. Like, I feel like we're going to see reverse Atlanta Julio here. Like, where Julio between the 20s was fantastic in Atlanta, this is going to be a situation is like he's going to be non-existent, and then inside the 20s, he's going to get at least 2 attempts at a touchdown. I think it's going to be once Tom Brady's going to accidentally throw it his way, he's going to have a chance. He's going to like fingertip it. The other one, he's going to be an intentional like something or another. But I think for Julio, this is a good move for his career, just because you're putting him in the best situation to win a Super Bowl. But for the Buccaneers, there's better receivers out there I would have taken for the Bucs. Let's just put it that way.
If I'm like, so one of the things I heard about Julio Jones, this was from I think it was Peter Schrager, or maybe it was Rap Sheet. One of them was on McAfee about a few weeks back. They were talking about the whole Julio signing because originally the 2 leaders in the clubhouse were Tampa and Indy. Indy because of the Matt Ryan connection, and Tampa because it's fucking Brady. Also, anything to get a little revenge on Atlanta would be great. So the biggest thing I heard about Tennessee, Julio Jones, was he didn't practice at all. So he was behind the 8 ball on every play, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Even though he's like, yeah, he's still one of the best receivers we've ever seen. But here's the problem. It's also like it's still a new offense. As much as Mike Vrabel's offense is basically smashing a sledgehammer into a wall, I kind of like there's still some nuances to it. And apparently in the locker room, he just never got the chemistry right. And then again, Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a bottom 10 quarterback, so it's not really much of chemistry there. But at this point, I think Julio learned his lesson in Tennessee. He's like, okay, I got to take it serious. I got to be there for camp. That's why I signed day one. We knew it. I called the thing earlier this season. Julio was going to wait till day one at camp. He was going to wait until he got the best offer, and he's just going to go. So it makes a lot of sense. I think he's going to be great. I don't think it's going to help them in the playoffs, because I still think their biggest issue was not solved, and that's their secondary, as my cat is entered the frame.
Giving the best example of Antoine Winfield in the playoff last year as you could possibly give. Gone.
Watching him get smoked by Cooper Kupp.
With like
he was looking in the back.
Also, him getting shimmy shaked by Devontae Smith on a screen pass that should have been blown up in the backfield.
Antoine Winfield, most overrated young safety in the league.
His daddy was nasty.
We don't talk about lineage in here. We don't talk about lineage. It doesn't count.
Why? You got something bad against lineage? Who pissed you off there, Kelsey?
No. It just doesn't count. Like, you can't have credit for your dad's doing.
Well, that's how half the guys in the MLB draft got drafted, including the guy who's wearing the hat I'm wearing now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, lineage is having his moment, but at the same time, I could, Michael Jordan's sons. That's my final answer.
Yeah. Marcus Jordan's greatest contribution to basketball is the trophy room collection for Jordan.
Yes. Thank you. Actually, yes.
Which are legitimately the most overpriced sneakers of all time. They're gorgeous sneakers, but I'd never pay more than $300 for them.
All right. Well, that's going to do it here for our tip-off segment as well, too. Always a lot of fun in mini camps as well, too. And that's going to take us to our main event. The main event, of course, brought to you by our friends over at In the Clutch Apparel. Click the link in our bio, use code HIGHLOWSPORTS, get yourself some high-quality sports apparel, and look clean for this upcoming football season. And today for our main event, we're going to be talking about, we're going to stay in the NFL topic. We're going to talk about the top 5 rookies to watch for this upcoming season. And Jared, as our esteemed guest, I will go ahead and let you go first. Give us some rookies that we're going to want to keep an eye out for.
Well, first one I think is just going to be elite is I am so excited for Breece Hall in New York. I think Michael Carter is already calling his agent, seeing if he can get moved because Breece Hall might be a 20 carry back by week 1. If you could have told me a more perfect fit for a running back besides maybe James Cook up in Buffalo, it's this. He's my number 2 rookie, actually. Both the first 2 are running backs, ironically, but I love Breece Hall because he's a fall forward for 5 yards running back, and that's what the Jets have needed. They need a running back who's good enough to, extend a play, but also like get you 5 yards in a cloud of dust. I think it's a great move. I love it. I really do.
I think he has really underrated hands too. Like you can throw him the ball a lot too. Like you can actually use him in passing concepts for Zach Wilson too. So
he's an every down back. His blocking's even underrated too, which I thought on tape was a little like hidden. Everyone's like, "Oh, he can block." It's like, yeah, kind of
good enough. Considering you want to use him in handing the ball or getting the ball to him, good enough at that point. I
was gonna say he didn't have to block at Iowa State. It was literally the only time he blocked at Iowa State was when the pass was going to Charlie Kohler. That was the only time he ever blocked. And other than that, he's the receiver.
Spinning in a circle.
Yeah. No, I love the Breece Hall pick just because that's the guy that I had my number 1 running back going into the season, going into the draft, and so I think where he landed at with the Jets is about as ideal as it can get. I mean, other than if he had landed in Buffalo somehow, that would have been the only other more ideal situation. But yeah, give him the Jets, and it's gonna be a fun offense to watch with the Jets with Breece Hall running.
Absolutely. All right, so Jared, who we have number 2 on your list? Who's the second rookie to keep an eye out for?
My second rookie that I'm actually really excited for is give me Jameson Williams in Detroit. Now, hear me out. So everyone's shitting on the fact Detroit should have went out and got Baker because, the whole Dan Campbell being who he is and Baker Mayfield being who he is. Jared Goff was an MVP candidate 3 years ago in the 18th season when they were lighting everybody up. Everyone talks about Gurley, but Goff was the one who threw all the passes. And I'm not going to lie, Amon-Ra St. Brown might be one of the best in between the hashes receivers we've seen in a while. This dude just everything he touches turns into a 10-yard gain. He saved me in fantasy last year. I love DJ Chark. I think he's one of the most undersold receivers as a number 2. Him and Quez Watkins are the same type of receiver. They're tall, they're fast, they can catch jump balls, and they're great as the not primary guy. They're that type. They're just lanky. They're like the really. If Randy Moss is a Ferrari, they're like Nissan Z Coupes. They're like Nissan Z Coupes. Okay, they're fast and they look nice, but they're not reliable. But hell, you need them for a quick touchdown. They're there for it.
Well, Quez Watkins doesn't know what an end zone looks like.
Hey, listen,
DJ Chark does. DJ Chark knows really well what an end zone looks like.
Last year, when he turned, that should have been a negative. You Cowboys not wrapping them up, but. Either
Cowboys
way,
don't know what that means. Don't tease the Cowboys. They don't know what wrapping up means.
But to my point, Jameson Williams looks like you slapped a V12 engine inside of a Viper and just said go. He looks like Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson fast, where it looks like he's just running a gear faster than everybody. And you're giving him apparently he's going to be ready by week 1, which I don't care. Honestly, he doesn't need to be. October's fine. And honestly, with Jared Goff. Jared Goff's eyes are going to light up. He's like, oh, my God, somebody's open 30 yards downfield. Oh, hey, it's Williams. He's going to have a Deshaun Jackson rookie season where it's going to be he's going to put up good numbers, but the big plays is what's going to be the story. Hopefully he doesn't drop the ball on the goal line like Jackson did, but, I think his speed, he's my favorite receiver in the class. I loved him. I loved Burks, but clearly I've so far been wrong on him. I do also love Garrett Wilson. He was my runner-up for this receiver position. For who is my favorite, because I just love guys with explosiveness, because offenses now rely on that kind of stuff. As much as technicality, route running, everything else, there's just something about being able to just blow by somebody.
That's definitely. And I will say, James Williams, when you average 45 yards per touchdown in your senior season with about 17 touchdowns, that's all you need to hear about his pure explosion as well. And Jared Goff, for all of his knocks, I guess people want to give him, he does throw a real pretty deep ball. People forget watching him throw those deep ones to Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and squad back when he was in with the Rams off play action. So he does throw a pretty deep ball if they can give him time. And watching Jameson Williams get behind some of those defenders, because it's not exactly, he's going to be playing some pretty slow secondaries that he's going to be able to get behind too.
One estimate of his speed, and want to see what you're missing, just watch his one touchdown against the Miami Hurricanes week 1. That's all you have to watch. Just watch that. You're good. Just blows by our fastest safety like it's nothing.
I was going to say that Vikings defense with how old it's gotten.
He might have like 4 touchdowns.
It's going to be a Justin Jefferson, Jameson Williams shootout. I feel like that I cannot wait. Honestly, for the first time, I can honestly say I'm excited to watch Detroit Lions football.
You're excited.
I'm buying Sunday ticket this year for how much I want to see all these rookies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, really, it is. And Jameson Williams, the worst thing that ever happened was that injury. And it was honestly, it might be the best thing that happened in his career, but worst thing to happen at the time it did, just because it kind of was like, man, we'd have loved to see him finish out the game and see what happens, you know? But I think for his career, it might have been the best timing for it to happen, because could you imagine it happens year 1 or year 4 of his contract? Maybe he's had a pretty decent like career up to that point, and then year 4 of that contract, it happens. Dude loses out on millions. So, hate to say it, but it's probably the best thing that could have happened.
Definitely. Well, definitely. So, Jared, who do we have now at number 3 for the Rookies? Have an explosive start with these two.
It's Nakobe Dean.
Can't miss that.
How did this man fall 3 rounds for a shoulder injury that was basically like shaken off by like 40% of the like every doctor looked at him and was like, oh, it's fine. But I want to know who spread the whole thing about his shoulder, because when he shows up to Eagles minicamp and rookie camp, he's outlifting every linebacker in the room. He looks fine, looks explosive. Yeah, he may only be 5'11", 230, but the biggest issue to the Eagles defense the last 4 years has been the fact that they haven't had a good linebacker since Jordan Hicks left. TJ Edwards is a good downhill run stopper. So is Kazir White, but they're not elite sideline to sideline guys. So what do? They go out and get a guy who fits that Fred Warner, maybe not the same size, Devin White type, where he like Nakobe is a missile. My favorite part of his highlight tape was I watched him stick up 3 SEC running backs in the hole by himself. Like, I'm like, this guy is my height. He just stuck up a 6'2" running back in the hole, dropped him on his ass. And then I go watch the kid from Utah, whose name is escaping me right now.
Devin
Lloyd, have to gang tackle everybody. And I'm like, is anybody else not seeing this? Like, the little things, like being able to tackle a SEC running back in the hole. This guy's letting Pac-12 running backs run through him, and he's, drafted a round and a half higher. I just think a lot of teams are going to regret that. Like, it's going to be like one of those situations where it's going to be a more successful Jalen Smith, where at least Nakobe Dean knows how to cover. But
he might last on the roster for longer than 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think the Dean thing, it's going to, even if he's just maybe makes 1 or 2 Pro Bowls and he's a solid B-, like Madden ranks him as like an 82, 83 linebacker, it's still a steal for Philadelphia. I think he's going to have a great season, though. I think he's going to be like a leader on that. Might be wearing a captain's C by the end of the year. Like, that's how big I think he is for that defense, especially with guys like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox retiring next year.
Exactly. He's got incredible range, too. The one Kelvin and I always talk about is that game against Michigan, where they see Korn coming in that motion screen. He's from the backside hash and missile shoots him and takes him down for a loss of 1. His range is second to none. And on top of that, too, I think he's stocky. Like you mentioned, he's like 230, so it's not like he's a 205 safety playing linebacker. He can actually hit people in the hole, stick them, bring them down. And I think if you keep offensive linemen off of him, he's a lot like Roquan Smith, a former Georgia linebacker as well, too. Just let him fly around the field and destroy people. So I like that pick, too. And you have his big buddy Jordan Davis in front of him, too, to take up some of those.
He's an honorable mention for me. It really just came down to, like, the thing is, Davis is going to be a rotation guy with Milton Thomas, Javon Hargrave, and Fletcher Cox. The Eagles have like literally I think maybe the deepest defensive tackle core I've ever seen of just big scary guys who might hurt you. So
bodyguards in the game.
Oh my god, like Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat and Barnett and Graham are literally just going to sit in the hole like we literally get single covered every play. This is great.
Yeah, no, I got to say about Nakobe Dean, man, I'm so glad you pointed out the fact that he's shutting down not just 1, not 2, 3, but multiple SEC running backs, guys that we're looking at as number 1 first round overall draft picks in the future. There's 4 guys that got drafted this year that he shut down on a regular basis when they played. Like it's insane that Nakobe Dean got overlooked. And I still think he's a top 10 talent. I stand by it. He is a top 10 talent that got slipped by in this draft, and every single team, and I do mean every single team that passed up on him is gonna hate their life. And I am purely looking at Jude Jones' family for letting this one slip into the division at that. Like, this is I loved watching Nakobe Dean on tape, and Man, it's gonna be fun. I say I'm actually like, if I buy an Eagles jersey, there's two names. It's either gonna be Jason Kelsey or Nakobe Dean. Those are the two, and that's it. No other questions asked.
I actually just got my AJ Brown nameplate shipped to me today from a little company. I'll give them a shout out at the end of the show. But they basically, for my Wentz jersey, they ship out nameplates because so many Eagles fans have been getting their AJ Brown jerseys in. So now I can save my money for either a Jalen Hurts or a Kobe Dean jersey by the end of the year. Like, I'm in the same boat as you. I love the Kobe Dean. Like, I love his story. I love how he just is like, all right, fine. Y'all passed on me. I'm about to whoop all your asses.
Yeah. Let's not forget Brian Urlacher was the same size as him coming out of college.
He's a little bit taller. He's about 6.
He was 6'2", but 235 pounds. Brian Urlacher, soaking wet.
Yeah, exactly.
Will Herring also another safety turn linebacker, 230 pounds.
Oh yeah, great linebacker when he played.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was a name I haven't heard in a long time. Holy crap, Kelsey! You just made me go flashback there.
War Eagle to Will Herring, if he's ever listening.
There you go.
Ages also. We got through three outstanding players too. Who are we looking at for number 4 for you?
Kier Elam. Everybody wants to talk about Sauce. Everyone questions Stingley. You're telling me you got a guy who asked for the playbook on draft night. This guy, I watched him lock up SEC receivers, and he's mean. He's nasty. He's long. He's physically can run. If you said, hey, what do the Buffalo Bills need? I would say, give me Richard Sherman with looser hips and better man-to-man skills. And probably a lot faster. I'm not saying he's going to be as elite as Richard Sherman, but this dude is just long, lanky, and nasty, and he's a perfect combo for Tre'Davious White. I think he's my sleeper for. I have 3 sleepers for defensive rookie of the year. One of them is Dean. One of them is Kier Elam, because these dudes are just perfect fits for their situations. Elam even more than Dean, honestly. I should have put him at 4 and at 3. I just love everything about him on tape. When they were talking about Philadelphia having 2 first-round picks, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go get a receiver at 12, and then we'll go get Kier Elam at 14 or whatever. Everyone's like, why'd you want the kid out of Washington, McDuff or whatever his name is, McDuffie? I'm like, because Kier Elam could probably bully somebody. Kier Elam's pro comp was Aqib Talib. That's winner. Okay, I'll take it. Give me a young Aqib Talib. I'm fine with that. That's fine by me. So, like, everything about this kid's tape screams he's going to be a solid Pro Bowl cornerback. I think he may have even a better career than Sauce, even though I think Sauce is just going to be heads up. I'm also trying to go away from the usual suspects here, because everyone's going to say Hutch, Sauce. Everyone's going to say Trey. I even would put Trayvon Walker as an honorable mention, because I think he's going to be explosive with Doug Peterson kind of being like, hey, just go after the quarterback. I don't care what else the hell you do. But yeah, no, I love everything on Kier Elam, everything man-to-man, bump and run, and the fact that Buffalo now has somebody they can say, hey, we can have you lock up whoever the hell they throw at us in Kansas City. So, like, say, Juju's in the middle doing the Corvette dance, Kier Elam, like, cold clocks him on the line of scrimmage. We're good.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, DJ.
I want to say my fun comp for him was a name that you probably hate dear in your heart as well too. But he reminds me a lot of Raiders Nnamdi Asomugha, as a guy who will just who's lengthy. You put him out on the island, he will fist fight with anybody.
I don't hate that, because Raiders Asomugha, yes,
one of the better corners you've ever seen. Unfortunately, once he leaves, he turns into absolute doo-doo and gets toasted by tight ends. But
here's the thing: it's like another lanky cornerback who's like lighting up now. Rasul Douglas was horrible in Philadelphia, now is considered a top 25 corner, and I'm like, huh? And then I watch him on tape, and I'm like, where was this in Philly? But then I realized Jim Schwartz's defense is just for psychopaths.
Yeah. So here was I have to go back to my draft board for Kier Elam, because me and him I have a love-hate relationship with the tape I saw. I literally said he is a wild card. If he goes to the right team, perfect. He has the ideal size for a corner, drives well on short routes, and is above average in zone coverage. Perfect for exactly what the Buffalo Bills do. But he's basically useless in the run because it's eye discipline. He just gets caught up too much looking in the backfield and gets lost. But again, Buffalo solves that problem.
Rangy defensive backs and rangy.
Yeah, and then he's like, it literally. I go on to say he has every tool at his disposal as long as he goes to the right program. And then my pro comparison was Jalen Johnson, the kid out of Utah that's now in Chicago.
Yeah.
So, and that's because just talent wise, like literally body build and talent wise, easily their floor level, like NFL caliber starter floor level. But can he take his tools to the next level and not fall out? Like we've seen so many different corners too. But I have a love-hate relationship with Kaiir Elam, but I do think he fell into the exact right spot here.
Absolutely.
My last. You want to go, TJ?
So who do you have first for number 5? We've had an explosive list so far. I'm curious to see who the best for last is.
A couple honorable mentions I throw out there with Garrett Wilson, Cam Jurgens going to Eagles in the second round. I think this dude is going to be possibly the best center in this draft. I love Lindenbaum as well, but I think I like the versatility and the fact his nickname is Beef Jurgens. Are you fucking kidding me? That wins by default. I loved the Texans going to get Keon Green out of Texas A&M. I just think it's a perfect fit because his versatility, he can play multiple positions. But my number 5 guy is the only pick I said, oh shit, we're screwed. And it was more referring to Jalen Hurts' backside, and that's Kayvon Thibodeau going to the Giants at 5. I am a big Kayvon guy. I don't give a shit about his crypto investments. I don't give a shit about what he talks about post-football. He's just smarter than everyone else. If that works for me, fine. I don't give a shit what you do from like Sunday night to Thursday. Thursday to Sunday as a head coach, you are mine to chase that quarterback and put him in the dirt. And here's the thing. As an Eagles fan, thank God Lane Johnson's only 33 years old, because if it wasn't, I'd be shitting my pants right now. And thank God Jordan Mailata eats people the size of Kayvon Thibodeau. But if one of those guys goes down, I am scared because Thibodeau is going to be another one of those Giants edge rushers that I hate. O.C. Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as these guys, but he's going to give me nightmares like those. Jason Pierre-Paul. He's going to give me nightmares like those fuckers did. And that's why I look at Thibodeau, I'm like, shit, there's got another one. Like, I laughed about the Kadarius Toney pick because it was such a joke. But, like, they got it right this draft. The Giants actually made the right pick here, and I was like, crap.
Yeah. They made the most of those 2 top 10 picks, that's for sure.
Oh, yes, they did.
I still think he was probably the most talented player in the draft, arguably towards the top of a board as well, too. And I think his versatility, because you can even put him in space and he's not useless. Like, if they want to like send a backside blitz and have him drop off to confuse the line, he can still do that and not be just spinning his wheels in circles. He can actually drop into the flats, that sort of thing as well, too. And he's incredible against the run. When he's going and he sees the run, he blows it up as well. So I agree with Thibodeau as well, too. Kelsey, what are your thoughts on? We got now the first 5 from Jared. What are your thoughts on those?
I love the list. It's a lot of guys that I'm a big fan of from the draft. Obviously, Kayvon Thibodeau. I still stand by the fact that we just ran out of things to look at with Kayvon Thibodeau because he was in the spotlight from his sophomore year of high school. Like, it literally just got to the point of like, what can we assume from looking at something stupid about this guy, and that could be on tape. Like, that is really how I feel about how Kayvon Thibodeau got looked at in the draft. It was just nitpicked for no reason. Yeah. The guy's still an ungodly talent. Like, his athleticism is just insane. So I love the list, honestly. The only one I have like about is Kaiir Elam, and that's just because again, hit or miss with me. But I think he did fall bass backwards into the right position to be a completely dominant corner if he really wanted to.
All right, I like it as well. That's very good. So, Kelsey, who are we looking at for your 5 rookies to watch out for now as well? Because I'm really curious because you always like to swing way outside of the box on this one. So I think you're going to break out some random 7th-round picks that even you don't know entirely, but you thought of them.
No, I did not go 7th round. I kind of capped myself around actually everybody is in the first 3 rounds. So I didn't try. I didn't stick with anybody that was like, your big name. I didn't stick with Aiden or anybody like Kyle Hamilton. I could easily have picked those guys and just had like a quick list and be done. That's not what we're here for, right? We're here for impactful rookies for some teams that probably need some impact. So I'm going to start with one of those guys who's going to provide instant impact. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for him. They're going to look out there. They're going to see this guy, and they're going to be like, I want to get him the ball. That's Drake London, the wide receiver now in Atlanta. I don't think there's a single receiver in Atlanta now that Calvin Ridley is suspended for the year that is going to be out there that could possibly do what Drake London can do physically. I think it's going to be a situation where you're just like, you see him and you're like, all right, well, I don't have a choice but to throw it in his direction and see what he can do. I mean, he's going to have to force his way open a lot. He's going to have to use that basketball frame of his to get a lot of his receptions. But you know what? He's good at it. It's what he does well. And I think he's going to be the most impactful rookie on that Falcons team that needs some impact from somewhere. I don't know. Like, there's not very many places that's going to give you impact for this Falcons team. And it's really going to come down to, can Drake London give it to you? And I think he's the most likely to be able to give any impact in this wide receiving core. And honestly, for this wide receiver list, honestly, I could probably pick all wide receivers for my top 5 impact players because there's a possibility. But I think Drake London, to me, he just stands out as a guy that I think he's going to have to be he's going to be there for an impact rookie for sure.
If I'm Atlanta, I'm putting Drake London on one side inside the 10-yard line. I'm putting Kyle Pitts on the other outside. I'm saying you pick your poison because this fade route's going to one of those two. If you don't double team both of them, then if you double team both of them, Marcus Mario's running right up the gut for a touchdown.
Or really screw with them and stack them.
It just completely
exactly.
And then run a speed option the opposite way or something just to be an asshole. Like there's a lot of fun they could have.
That's the most me thing I'd ever do as an offensive coordinator.
All right, Kelsey. That's a really good one too. So who are we looking at for number 2?
So yeah, Drake London obviously there, but obviously keeping with the offensive theme, I love the Breece Hall pick, but there was an announcement this offseason about a guy having to retire because of injury in a team that is completely rebuilding their offense, and a guy who just so happened to almost literally run away with the Heisman Trophy at one point in time last year, just happened to land there, and his name is Kenneth Walker III. I think he has all the talent and ability to be there. Physically, I think he's a gifted runner. If you ask him to pass block, he can do it. But in a team where you have Drew Lock as your quarterback, and I love me some Drew Lock, don't get me wrong. But when your potential starter is going to be not Drew Lock or it's going to be Geno Smith, and again, Geno Smith's been through some troubling times in his career, still has a similar record win-loss wise to Baker Mayfield, though, fun fact. It's just still not good enough, and so you're going to have to rely on a run game. And they do have a big running back core. There's a lot of guys in that Seattle core, but I do think Kenneth Walker's name is going to be right there behind Rashad Penny, and give it a couple weeks, and I think he overtakes Rashad Penny, honestly.
Interesting. All right. I like it. That's a good one.
I will say I completely forgot that Walker went to Seattle, and that it completely because it was just like kind of like an ant pick. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. And then here's the other thing: it's like his competitors are Rashad Penny, and then the two boys from Miami, Homer and DJ Dallas, who are both like gadget backs. So one of them is probably going to get moved during camp because there's going to be somebody who's going to lose a number 2 back. So I love that Walker pick, honestly, I really do.
Yeah, and let's just be completely clear: Chris Carson having to retire, probably one of the sadder things you've seen, just because it's like, man, he was a baller when he was actually on the field. He's a gamer.
He just would hit the hole at like a rocket and like literally just cause chaos. It was great.
Yeah, but so that's Kenneth Walker too. I'm gonna speed mine up a little bit. Number 3, Christian Watson. He's injured now, but it's Green Bay. You need a number 1 receiver. He has all the intangibles. He's gonna have to step up for me. That's at number 3. I got Christian Watson when he comes back. He's gonna be A-Rod's favorite wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. He's got to get out there somewhere so A-Rod can say, screw it, Watson out there somewhere. He can get out there with the best of them, but he's just, like you said, he's got to get out on the field. And they used him a lot with like end of rounds and stuff in college too.
I don't think Rodgers ever had a receiver as fast as Watson either.
Not with everything else.
Like top end speed, like I think he's even faster than MVS.
Yeah. That's possible.
Yeah. I don't know. Jordy Nelson was quote unquote underratedly fast, so you never. Yeah,
that dude ran the 400 in track.
That country white boy speed ain't nothing to shake a stick at.
He's got that second gear, but we can't quite figure out what it is why he's underratedly fast. There's just something about it.
I can't say it on this show. Only I can say it in the corner booth because we have a little darker of a rating.
That's fair. That's fair. Touche. All right. So number 4 on my list now. This one's kind of a stretch. Maybe some people may not be as high as this guy is on this guy as I have been. I've been saying his name for a lot, and I think he's the next Micah Parsons. Nick Bonito, the outside linebacker going to Denver. Man, if this dude is just put into pass rush only situations, he was tops on the combine in a defensive line class that featured all the Georgia guys, and then Nick Bonito at number 3 in all of the rankings. The dude has all the physical talents in the world. He showed out at Oklahoma when he actually had the opportunity to. I think he's going to be pretty good here in the league. And honestly, if Bradley Chubb's healthy and their other opposite side rusher is healthy, slide him in just as a blitzing linebacker, perfectly fine.
If they can get a lead, Greg Hardy, Bradley Chubb, and Bonito, one of them is going to get to the quarterback. So who can get there fastest? And as you mentioned, Bonito's is one of the faster guys out there. So that could be a fun race to watch to the quarterback if Russell Wilson doesn't turn it over a lot or take a bunch of sacks.
Might be the only reason Russell Wilson gets an opportunity to score. If they're not careful. But my number 5, my last one, a guy I still think was a top tier edge guy. And honestly, he was just surpassed because, well, pure athletes usually take place over pure talent or pure technique. And George Karlaftis, pure technique at its finest, the edge rusher going to Kansas City. He gets to play next to Chris Jones. And you're telling me this guy who dominated by himself on a defensive line in college, going up against a ton of great offensive lines in the Big Ten, like you telling me he gets to have a Chris Jones next to him? Yeah, I'd like to see what this guy can do. Who's a pure technique guy. He is absolutely technique, and he has the power behind it. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. I think George Karlaftis rounds out my top 5 rookies to watch.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that one as well, too. And he's had plenty of opportunities in that division where they're going to be throwing the ball all over the place. Each team's going to average like 50 pass attempts a game the way they're looking right now. So he'll have plenty of opportunities. I'm going to coast through mine pretty quickly here. Number 5, I got Velus Jones for the Bears, the new receiver they drafted, because they did nothing else to help Justin Fields whatsoever. And the guys they brought in free agency have been arrested or have been miserable so far as well, too. So they haven't done a lot to help him. Velus Jones, throw the bubble screen, let him get out in space and scoot. He's a yak machine. And they brought in the Packers quarterback coach to be the offensive coordinator, who they've already been working on catch, snap, flick, kind of like what Aaron Rodgers did with Devontae Adams all of last year as well, to just getting the ball out of his hands to mask that putrid offensive line. So give me Velus Jones as an underrated guy. Not that the Bears will be any good. They have way too many holes, but Velus Jones can maybe show out a little bit. Next one I have Charlie Kolar, the tight end from Iowa State, going to the Ravens as well, too. I compared him to Jason Witten. There is nothing special about him besides his production. He's not very fast. He's not overly big. He has good hands, and he just finds a way to get open and catch the ball. And now you pair that with Mark Andrews, and then Rashad Bateman is your really only main outside receiver as well, too. I think he's going to find a lot of room to work. They're going to pack the box. That's what you have to do with the Ravens, stop Lamar, J.K. Dobbins, and squad. I think Kolar can be that Hayden Hurst / Nick Boyle role, but with a little bit more of a receiving threat, too, because you don't double-team Mark Andrews, he'll cook. So they'll double-team him. Charlie Kolar will be able to just pick up a weird amount of first downs. Next one I have, I'm just going to cruise through these real quick. I have Troy Anderson, the linebacker going to the Falcons out of Montana State. 4.5 flat 40, rangy all over the field. He won awards as a quarterback, a running back, a safety, and a linebacker in college. Atlanta just needs playmakers at whatsoever right now. Stick him there next to guys like Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett, AJ Terrell. I think he's just going to be a defensive, almost like a star position. They kind of joke about as well, too. Like, he doesn't have a position. We just put him on the field and let him roam and make plays. I think he's going to do a lot of that next to Deion Jones as well, too. Next one I have, we all alluded to him earlier. James Cook going to the Bills. Versatile, do-it-all running back. Get him the ball in space. Make it so Josh Allen doesn't have to be your leading rusher and run into brick walls every play. Give him a screen option pass, things like that. Not a whole lot to say about James Cook. We've gone over that. Last one I have is Alec Pierce, the receiver, going to the Colts as well. We talked about Jordy Nelson earlier. We don't know why he's fast. We can't put our finger on it, but there's something about him that's really fast. Alec Pierce, there's a reason in the playoff game into Alabama, he is the only guy on Cincinnati that Alabama even tried to guard. Everyone else, they just said, I dare you to try. He's underratedly fast, jokingly, quote unquote. He's a big body. Matt Ryan coming into the field, a guy who will actually throw the ball as well, to not hold it for 45 minutes. He gets to play opposite Michael Pittman with a run-first offense. I think he's going to find a lot of holes deep over the middle as well, too. So give me Alec Pierce as a fifth guy in a run-first offense to kind of take the reins of that number 2 receiver as well. And once again, as I've been talking about it all day, because I love me some jump ball situations, a 6'3", 6'4" receiver who can get loose, who's going to be against most number 2 corners. Matt Ryan throwing you the ball, too, is still one of the more accurate quarterbacks you'll find in the league when he's not getting assaulted. I think Alec Pierce has a good chance to have an explosive rookie year.
I like it. I love the Alec Pierce pick.
Big Alec Pierce guy.
Yeah. Honestly, it was down to, like, who do I want to pick? Do I want to pick Christian Watson or Alec Pierce as my receiver to look out for? You know,
exactly.
It's really what it came down to for me.
The one I'm really curious about is I want to see Charlie Kolar, because I think if he stays healthy in that run offense, I think he's going to find a lot of just random openings where, like, oh, wow, we forgot about him with his 4.7 40 running self, and he's just going to randomly get open and make plays in ways that make no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Velus Jones is an interesting. I just have to go back to that one for a second. Like, Velus Jones is an interesting prospect for
what
Chicago.
College did he come out of?
Oh, what college did he come out of as well, too? It was some
smaller
school as well,
like
too.
East, West, North Dakota, Alabama State, or something, like out of like Key and Peele skit.
Tennessee. Let's pump the brakes there. Tennessee.
Okay.
He's a former USC guy.
See, you guys in Alabama, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
fair.
He's a guy, get him in space, watch him cook as well, too. You can almost turn things into a kick return, almost like a Jakeem Grant, but much thicker as well, too. So I think you got to get the ball at Justin Fields' hands so he doesn't get assaulted behind on that team. You're not going to run the ball very well, most likely, unless you somehow learn how to block. So I think that's just a way to get the ball in space and watch him do some work out there and take a little pressure off Darnell Mooney, too.
Anybody else think the Bears are going to have a top 3 pick this next year? Because they're my odds-on favorites to have the number 1 pick.
They just got rid of too much on defense. I don't think they did enough on defense to restack it.
Who would you say? You said the Bears, right?
Yeah. I think they need a better defense.
I think there could be a surprise team that just has a brush of injuries, maybe a Tennessee or something like that. But I think the thing is the Bears might be the worst team in football next year, and it's gonna be absolutely hysterical. I think the Lions might win 9 or 10 games next year. The Vikings are gonna win 8 or 9. The Packers are gonna win 10 or 12. It's going to be a rough year for the Bears.
And it sucks too, because I still think Justin Fields has the potential to be really, really, really good. But you're gonna have to have a Herculean effort to get through this team, unfortunately, too. There's not a lot to work with there right now as well, too. What are you gonna do when you're getting hit immediately? I mean, we saw that Browns game where he was getting hit before he took the snap as well, too.
That Browns game, dude. I will never forget watching their right tackle on 3 straight plays try to block Myles Garrett like this. Arms
just absolutely
completely out, straight back,
effort.
Straight back, knees locked out, not even touching him, but he touched him with his right hand all the way across the screen to his left hand. That was it. That was all he did with Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett just said,
me and Kelsey, two former offensive linemen, literally having a seizure watching this happen. And the other thing is, what I loved about also, I don't know what was worse, that Browns game or him against Alabama in the national championship game. They were both ugly.
Yeah.
I
Offensive line's letting you down right there.
Career move will be if they don't pick up his 5th-year option, he gets to go somewhere else and have a second coming.
He will go somewhere else. I guarantee he's going to go to some team possibly a team that lost their quarterback, like a Baltimore. Because I don't think Lamar. I think hot take. I think the Ravens might lose Lamar Jackson.
Very interesting.
They may overstep their bounds here, and Jackson be like, I'll go to the Dolphins because Tua's going to bust. So hell yeah.
I actually we'll piggyback off that in just a second to the next segment, but I do want to point out that's 2 straight seasons in a row where he has had a tweet about his organization in a not so happy light.
Well, okay, so post Ozzie Newsome, Ravens are not a fun organization.
Yeah,
they're not.
No,
he was the I guess he was the cool grandfather of that organization. Ozzie had been there since day one, and it's kind of John Harbaugh's still there, but John only has so much power. And the Modells are kind of just as owners. They screwed Cleveland over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's going to do it for our main event. And that's going to take us into Kelsey's favorite part of every podcast, too. That is Crunch Time. Crunch Time brought to you by Swift Lifestyles. Click link in our bio. Use code HILOSports. Try it out today. Jared, as our esteemed guest of honor, these last 2 minutes, they are all yours, good sir. What is on your mind in the sports world today?
I want to give a quick shout out to an amazing company that I found courtesy of my friend Eagles Galaxy on Instagram, who is one of the best Eagles pages for Eagles fans. It's called Twillworks. These amazing people have been saving guys like me money on jerseys. So everyone knows the new Nike NFL jerseys are $110, right? It's not. I'm buying a new one because I just got a new credit card today. I got to hit a cash bonus, so I'm going to probably buy a jersey, whatever. But I was able to save money on a Carson Wentz jersey that I wore 3 times, and he disgraced the franchise in the entire city of Philadelphia. It's been sitting in my office down here, tucked away behind my bookshelf over here. I got a DM from one of my friends who bought one of their little nameplates for A.J. Brown. Mine is on the way. I'm going to have an A.J. Brown jersey for the season that I paid a total of $23 for. I paid $78 for the Wentz jersey because it was on sale. It was a one-day flash sale from Fanatics. So in total, I still spent less than a full-price jersey for an A.J. Brown jersey, who will probably be in Philadelphia next 4 or 5 years. I will take that any day of the week. So shout out to Twillworks. Y'all doing God's work by keeping Fanatics and that stupid jersey insurance policy out of business. By the way, the dumbest thing ever. I'm sorry, 3 months? That's not enough time. I literally bought the Wentz jersey in October. I tried to redeem it. I missed the deadline by 3 days. Because he got dealt in February. The trades don't even start till after the season. So if you buy one preseason, it doesn't matter. It only really solves against midseason trades. So Fanatics is the worst. Shot Dick Sporting Goods for keeping up the fight. And, just Fanatic sucks. That's I guess that's the moral of the story. They have a monopoly over everything.
You know what? I'm sure there's a lot of Colts fans too that'll say the same thing about Carson Wentz. They'll be redeeming themselves a Matt Ryan nameplate coming up as well too to replace that as well too.
There you go. Listen, hey DJ, I'll give you the link, bro.
No, you know what? I don't have a Carson Wentz jersey, but I'll keep that in
smarter than I was.
Not by much, but that will do it for us today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you once again, Jared from the Korner Booth. Go check them out on all their social medias. Check out their podcast, their show every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time as well too. Appreciate y'all tuning in with us. We'll see you guys again next week.
Thanks, guys.